What are hints that women give that most men don't pick up on? Before we start with the first story, please hit subscribe and ring the notification bell to stay updated with us. Story 1. I had a coworker ask me one time if I could help her move her bed, which I thought was odd. It's pretty doable with one person. I got to her house and she was like an 18-year-old brother. I was like, why didn't you ask him to help? I moved the bed, then left. The next day at work, I had some girlfriends ask, did I get lucky? I was confused and said no, I just moved her bed for her and left. They all laughed at me. It's weird because I get laughter from people over me not treating every relationship with people as potentially sexual. Like, I can be friends with people and politely shut it down if they're genuinely seeking something sexual with me. But strangely enough, my most platonic relationships revolve around us being with each other in front of others. Story 2. I once asked a guy if I could kiss him. We had been hanging out in a way that was conducive to that, and he said yes. I kissed him. It was great. But then we just parted ways naturally. 3 days later, this man called me all shocked that I was hitting on him. He told a friend about the interaction, and they had to point it out. Sir, I literally kissed you. I mean, I kissed him on the lips. What else do you want as a hit? What should I do? Next time I will call a person daddy, or tell me that he can come over and play Legos on my ass. Will this count as a big hint? Just asking. Story 3. In fairness, I think girls can do even overt things in ways that aren't easy to interpret. I was literally in bed spooning a girl I'd liked for years, and asked her if she wanted anything to happen. And she said no issues, just went back to spooning and fell asleep. I moved on after that night and started dating someone else a few months later. 5 years later, we're still friends and discussing our friendship group and who dated whom, and she expresses regret that we never dated, that I was never single. I was like, what? When I pointed out that night, she said it wasn't very romantic and that she didn't do casual with friends. I wasn't interested in casual either, but her response didn't make me think she doesn't want casual. It made me think she's not interested. Story 4. Ladies reading this thread, I've had a 100% success rate with asking a guy for his phone number to start working towards a relationship. Get to know them, start up a rapport, make sure they're single, then get their number. Be direct. Tell them you like them and want to go on a date. If he likes you, he'll be flattered. If he doesn't like you, then you don't need to date him. That's it. If he tries to make you feel bad for asking, then you dodged a bullet and have lost nothing. I was so nervous when I asked my now fiancé for his number, and he was just like, yeah, gave me his number and hugged me. Story 5. Don't skip the step of asking for the phone number. Not that long ago, a girl I was interested in told me that she would call me right after I told her she had a great smile. The only thing that popped into my head was, I never gave you my number. How are you going to call me? Did you already get my number from someone else? If she had just asked for it, I would have given it to her. But she skipped that step, and it created an awkward moment. We didn't end up exchanging numbers. We worked together, so if you work with a guy, expect him to be extremely cautious. These days, a guy you work with is likely to refuse any approach. Most of them will not approach you anymore. It just isn't worth the risk. If you work with them, you must make it clear that you are interested and that you are low risk. Any hint of weirdness, and they will shut down the interaction. Story 6. I've messed up so many interactions with women, it's silly. The only one that I understood she was hitting on me was the time my roommate and I threw a New Year's Eve party. I was sitting on the couch with a drink talking to people when a chick I've never met before or since came over, took the drink out of my hand. She then cuddled in next to me and put my arm around her. At that point, I was like, okay, this is different but good. Then she does something I couldn't miss to indicate she was interested. She put my hand down her shirt, in her bra, and on her right boob. To say I was shocked was an understatement. Story 7. A sizable number of guys don't want to come off as being creepy or overly forward. The result is that people of this sort will see a clear hint and brush it off as, they probably don't mean it that way. Anecdotally, back in high school, a pretty girl sat next to me for about 2 weeks at lunch and would make comments like, I could really see myself with someone like you, while also being exceptionally handsy. I naturally assumed she didn't mean literally me, and just thought, neat, I guess I'm not hopeless after all. After she realized that I wasn't being very responsive to her hints, she just stopped joining me at lunch. Ladies, if you're reading this and you've got your eye on a fella, just go ahead and be blunt about it. We are incredibly dense at the best of times. We won't think you're weird. We won't think you're a creep. Story 8. No self-respecting guy wants to come off as creepy, but I've literally been in that boat where you're sure the woman is interested and they said, "I could see myself with someone like you," and proceeded to ask them out, and they're confused on how I got that impression. Mixed signals in my experience are way too common. Also have experienced a lot of asking a woman out for something casual, and then they either ghost or they make up excuses and waste your time. Had one recently where I asked them out to a sports game, and they seemed interested and said yes, and then didn't hear from them for 3 weeks after I asked what game they wanted to see, and then got an, "Oh, I forgot," and were still interested. There isn't anything wrong with just saying no, not interested. I don't waste anyone's time. Story 9. When I was younger, I had a girl over a few times to watch DVDs. We never had anything physical except she started to ask for a massage, and also give one after every movie. She took off her shirt and unzipped the bra so I can get everywhere on her back, and I just massaged her back until it was her turn to massage me, which she also did every time. After the 5th date, when I was done massaging, she sat up and forgot to close the bra and turned my way, and said playfully, "Oh, UFC, you would stare." I turned away, apologized, and turned away. Do I have to mention this was the last time I saw her? Sometimes I want to invent a time machine just to travel back and slap my teenage self in the face. Hard. Story 10. I once went on a New Year's Eve with a girl to see fireworks. We get to kiss cheeks as sort of good luck, but also because I was hesitating to kiss her lips. Then we went home, and it was winter, so it was quite cold. And my hands were freezing because I forgot to bring gloves. She offered to put my hands into her body inside the shirt near her breast. It was quite good NGL, also the warmth. I walked her to her place and told her that I like her, but she said she didn't like me. Story 11. I once got yelled at by my female coworker. She said, "Haven't you noticed that for the last 2 months, the first thing I do when I arrive is come to your desk and say hello, and that I don't do that for anyone else?" I honestly hadn't noticed. I noticed she always arrived later than me. That is the only thing I had noticed, honestly. Anyway, after that little bit of frustration and yelling, we did end up having a thing for a while. This kind of thing frustrates me to no end.
I have struggled all my life to tell when someone else might like me. I can of course tell if someone appreciates me. Like, if they laugh a lot around me, or seem to go out of their way to speak to me. I know they must clearly like my presence. But not once have I ever thought, "Oh, they said hello to me today. That must mean they want to go on a date." I wish people were more direct with this. When I think I like someone, I straight up tell them, with my words, that I think I like them and I want to go on a date with them. Has this ever worked in my favor? No, not at all. But there have absolutely been people in my life who did like me. They never once told me. They acted like I was supposed to somehow pick up on this. These women would tell me months or years later, either directly or through friends' family members, that they liked me at a certain time and were hoping I would have noticed. I just don't get it.
If I knew these women liked me, I would have been so elated to go grab ice cream with them sometime. But they never told me. I don't understand how this works for most people. It seems so conceited to me to believe that just because someone gives you a bit more attention than most, they must be interested in you. If you don't mind me asking, how did a thing develop between you two after this? I'm genuinely asking. I have been suspecting that I am autistic for a couple of years now, and there's lots of evidence to support this. If you could provide a play-by-play of how you two ended up forming a relationship, no matter how short-lived, I would greatly appreciate it. Story 12. I was flirting my ass off with a guy I met at work. I would always randomly brush his hand or arm, make extended smiling eye contact or whatever. I never went in for the hug because, hey, it was the workplace. Turns out he was picking up those signals, but he didn't believe them. He's a good friend of my roommate, who's a gay woman. Because I live with her, he thought I was her girlfriend. That changed when we all went out to a social event after work and her actual girlfriend showed up. That's when he learned I was straight and single. We were dating by the next week, and now we're engaged. Squee. The bushing of the hand or arm thing is completely not something we pick up on. I was dating my now wife in college, and this girl at a party started talking to me while my wife was about 5 feet away talking with someone else. This girl touched my forearm, and my wife proceeded to step in. I just thought both of them were being friendly and wanted to chat with each other. Me, We are on the ride home, and my wife goes off on how she couldn't believe that other girl touched my arm. And that's when I found out about y'all's little secret code. Story 13. The problem with hints is that they rarely mean one thing. Or maybe to the woman they mean one specific thing, but that's only because she's the only one privy to her chain of reasoning. The one she's speaking to doesn't have that benefit. So to him, she could be saying one of many things. And there's a risk associated with some of the interpretations. Sometimes men do indeed fail to pick up on subtle hints, but that's just because that's now how we communicate in general. Men are taught to be direct, women are taught to be more subtle. Other times men are being cautious and deliberately choose the safer option. No one wants to come off as creepy or ruin a friendship by misinterpreting a comment or friendly gesture as flirting. Also, it's not like all women use the same hints and have those words or actions mean the same thing. Story 14. I think a food service worker has been hitting on me for potentially years, and I only just gave her my number. She had asked me if I was going to an event. I said probably yes, and she said she was going too. But that's not an invitation, that's common ground. The next time I pressed it, I asked if she wanted to coordinate. She said yes. Then I gave my phone number. Then I immediately thought she'd dread coming to work and having to wonder if I'd walk in. But the next time I walked in, she said something like, "Sorry I haven't texted yet, just been busy." But at least she still initiated conversation and didn't pretend not to see me or find something else to work on. I hate making an advance at someone's job that isn't also my job. Story 15. Ever have one of those cringe moments that haunts you for the rest of your life? Yeah, this one still makes me wince. Granted, in my defense, I was 15 and had never touched a titty before. My first girlfriend throughout freshman year never wanted to do anything more than kiss, so when I started dating my second girlfriend the next year, I thought that was normal. We were making out hot and heavy every unsupervised second we got together, but that was it. One day she came over on a day when my mom wasn't home, in a low-cut top that plunged down between her tits. As we're making out, my innocent, naive ass thought, uh-oh, better be extra careful where my hands go. In the middle of making out, she stops, looks me in the eye and softly purrs, "Where is my heart?" I panic, and very carefully, nervously, tap a single careful finger on her sternum, making sure I didn't touch either breast. She literally rolled her eyes and went, "Ugh," pulled her top down and her tits out, grabbed my hand firmly and placed it on her tit, staring me in the eye firmly. I had a second of confused panic like I'm not supposed to do that, and then realization hit me, like, oh. Alright folks, that's a wrap. If you like this, please hit the thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. You can also share your of those in the comment below.